Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Questioning a better way, one gracefully disruptive conversation at a time.
Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila. I'm very excited to be with you here today, having meaningful conversation. As we do, we are going to jump right in. We are first going to give a shout out to our sponsors, Lux Neuro, offering neurofeedback and counseling where your heart and mind align. For more information about what neurofeedback can do for you, check out the stories of transformation in the middle of this podcast. Neurofeedback effectively treats everything from insomnia, anxiety, depression, trauma, ADHD, and much more. So go check them out if you want to optimize your brain. We got to give a shout out to Declan James Watches. They are local and veteran owned with 10% kicking back to the Navy SEAL Foundation, and our very own Colorado Clownfish Swim School, teaching swim lessons and water safety training for all ages. They believe in life skills through sports. So come waterproof your family today. Check them out at coloradoclownfish.org. And without further ado, we are going to welcome Mark Siebert to the T&T mic. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you, Kristen. Nice to be here.
Yes, Mark is the author of Franchise Your Business, the guide to employing the greatest growth strategy ever, the franchisee handbook, and the multiplier model, and a franchise business consultant since 1985. He's founded the iFranchise Group in 1998, and he's got all kinds of stuff going on. He's got a new book out, but we are really going to get into the human behind the mission, of course, first, but then this whole situation around franchising and how we take first steps. We have lots of entrepreneurs and sole proprietors on Turmeric and Tequila, so this is a good conversation for all my business humans. But Mark, why don't you give us a quick rendition of young Mark and how you were as a kiddo?
Okay, well, it's been a while since there was young Mark, but I was always very drawn to entrepreneurship and working with entrepreneurs, and started my career back in, as you said, 1985, working with entrepreneurs who wanted to franchise their business at a different firm, and just loved working with people that wanted to grow their business. And the thing about franchising is that, first of all, you can franchise businesses in so many different fields. People think of franchising and they think of franchising food service operations, but there are so many different places that franchising is taking place today. One of our clients is Massage Envy, and they're franchising massage services. You've got places that are, one of our clients is a company called QC Kinetics, which is a pain relief center. You mentioned a swim school that was one of your sponsors. We sponsored and helped a company called Big Blue Swim School to franchise their business. Almost any business that is successful can be franchised, and so it keeps my job so interesting because I get a chance to see so many different business models and to help so many different businesses to grow and grow with other people's money, and that's what's really exciting for me.
Absolutely. So were you like the kid with the lemonade stand? Was there like entrepreneurial signs very, very early?
I was the kid with the lawnmower and the shovel,
Okay.
so sort of the same thing.
Yeah, for sure. I think I had 3 younger brothers, so they were definitely, I don't think they ever turned into a business, but I remember doing lemonade stands, house sitting, pet sitting. We did all kinds of stuff. I was never really about the boss, even early on. I think my parents would attest to that. But this is really fascinating because I know every entrepreneur, we've got to find a way. I do not love the term scale because I think that usually compromises quality, and I know that can be a whole podcast in itself. And as entrepreneurs, we're always looking to build a team or do things better or find a way to do less and get paid more or make it more efficient, because any entrepreneur knows like the beginning is really, really hard. So finding your systems, getting started, getting funded, all of that is hard. You've seen that from the ground level up with Turmeric and Tequila. If you tuned in and my business, KO Alliance, we're 10 years in the game, and it's a lot to do. So I'm very curious on this conversation around franchising. Why don't you do this? Can you break down what franchising is like in a very basic way? And then let's get into the details of like first steps of that process.
Well, franchising is a legally defined term in the US and in a lot of markets, actually. And it's basically a business structure where you allow somebody to use your name, you teach somebody how to use your business systems, and they pay you a fee. So, like with McDonald's, they use the McDonald's name, they cook their burgers the McDonald's way, and then they pay McDonald's a royalty of, that is a percentage of revenues typically, in return for that intellectual property. And so as a franchisor, you're allowed to grow your business by uh, using your intellectual property and getting paid for your intellectual property. Essentially, get paid for the the knowledge that you've got in your head instead of what you can carry on your back.
There you go. There you go. Very, and I know it's a complicated process, but I think it's really important for entrepreneurs to expand their horizons. And I've always said dream big, because when you're starting out and you're doing everything, it's really hard to think about like, damn, do I want to franchise this? Like that feels so far down the road. But I think if you have that vision early on, and somewhere in, the universe that's the end game, I think you start to build your processes a little bit different from the get-go, knowing that's the end game. So I don't like people to get too overwhelmed with thinking like, dang, franchising this, like I'm just getting started. What is like the first steps if you've got a business, you've got your systems, you've got an incredible brand? If I'm like, okay, you know what, I want to franchise, it's actually my mom's from school, Colorado Clownfish. What would be the first steps to that process?
Well, I think the first steps is really to take an assessment of whether or not franchising makes sense for you. And
Mhm.
there's two steps to that. The first is to determine whether or not the business model itself is ready to be franchised. So, not every business can be franchised because you have to be able to have a business where not only is it going to make money for the franchisee, but it has to make money for the franchisee after paying the franchisor some kind of a royalty. So even if it's a profitable business, it might not be ready. So the first thing we typically do is look for whether or not the business model is in fact franchisable. So is it does it have an adequate return? Is it something that's saleable? Is it something that can be replicated from market to market? Does it have the credibility in the marketplace to be able uh, to provide the kind of services and the support necessary to the prospective franchisees, and will people buy it? The second thing is franchising right for you as a business owner? Because just because you can franchise a business doesn't mean it's the right thing for you.
Mhm.
If you have a goal of just being able to spend more time with your family and be able to make a nice living, franchising might not be the right thing for you. What you want to do is take a look at what are your goals, what are your objectives, and do you need to grow more aggressively than you're capable of growing with your existing resources to be able to achieve those goals and objectives? Franchising is a way of leveraging your growth. It's a way of using other people's money because other people are making the investment in your business. So people are investing their capital to open up a location that is going to pay you that royalty, and you are not investing your money in that business. You are allowing them to use your intellectual property instead. So do you need to have that extra layer of growth in order to achieve your goals? Because any time that you're growing a business more aggressively, it's going to take more time and more effort on your part. So you have to make that personal decision whether or not franchising is right for you. So is the business franchisable? Number one, is franchising right for you as an entrepreneur and as a business owner that has certain goals and objectives personally?
Amen. I really like that you point that out, because I think as business people, we can get very dialed into the numbers and the balance sheet and the finances, and you don't often factor in life and what you want, what your core values are, family time, those things sometimes until it's too late, or you have to kind of learn the hard way. And I'll certainly speak for myself there, where you wake up one day and you're like, oh, this isn't just a part of my life. This is my life. And this is everything I'm doing. So
Right.
some of those factors, it's like, what about life? Because the only real finite resource we're dealing with is time, and we don't know when that's going to
Absolutely.
be. Yeah, and so I love that you do that, especially when you're on the side of selling it and making it a thing. I think that's really great that you have the human conversation and those human factors in there, because you also want to be dealing with people that want to be in it for the long term, or at least through the end of the deal, and do things the right way. So you've got this new book coming out, Franchise Your Business. It's a second edition, and then the guide to employing the greatest growth strategy ever. Is this a good first time entrepreneur or franchise book, or is it a second one? Where does this fall in the process?
But this is actually the first book that I wrote, and
Okay.
it's going into a second edition now. And essentially, the book itself is geared toward companies that are thinking about franchising their business. So if you have a business and you're thinking, is franchising right for me? It will walk you through the steps of, is my business franchisable? And it's got a 13-point step process that it looks at as to whether or not you are ready for franchising. It'll go through the process of looking at whether or not franchising is a good strategy for you and how you make that determination as to whether or not you need to franchise to reach your goals. It'll talk through the legal process of becoming a franchisor. It'll talk through the process of developing the quality control systems that you need to become a franchisor, and how to maintain quality at the unit level and make sure that you maintain your brand. It'll talk about how to market franchises. It'll talk about how to sell franchises. And it'll tell how to ultimately position your company for an exit so that you can sell your business at some point in time and achieve that ultimate end goal of an exit if that's what your goal is.
Wow. That's a lot in one book. How big is this book?
I try and write fairly concisely, so it's maybe 300 pages or so.
Oh, okay, not too bad. Yeah, there's a lot of intel there. Now, and I'm guessing I'm a consultant. That's what my marketing branding. So we'll talk about the branding piece next. But how important do you think it is to have a consultant or some sort of coach or guide or baseline in this process if you're new to it?
Well, I've got a horse in the race, obviously, since I'm a consultant
Sure.
myself. I think that it depends on who you are as to whether or not you need a consultant. If you've been down the road a lot of times before, maybe you don't need a consultant. But if
Yeah.
you have not been down the path, there's a number of reasons why having a consultant is of value to you. Number one, hopefully a consultant can save you money by avoiding missteps.
Mhm.
Number two, hopefully a consultant can make sure that you're making good decisions that are going to allow you to grow faster. Number three, a consultant hopefully can save you time by avoiding unnecessary steps in the process, steps that they may have gone through dozens of times. So, for example, if you're writing an operations manual, if you wanted to write an operations manual about your business, you would have to start writing that from scratch. If I am writing an operations manual, or somebody from my team, and I got 30 people on my team, are writing an operations manual about your business, they've already written sections on HR and written sections on how to hire people and written sections on how to find a site and how to negotiate things. So there's a lot of it's already been done. It will take us a lot less time. We can be a lot more efficient. So consultants can add a lot of value, especially for people who've never been down the path before.
Absolutely. As a long time, lifelong athlete, I'm here for the coach. Like I think always go get an opinion. If you run a bunch of laps in it and that's fine, you, that's okay. But I'd still even say I lean into that coaching position because the landscape, the market, the opportunities, the technology, everything changes so fast. I always say get a team, get a buddy, get a consult, get someone that's in it with you because there's just so much to know and it's so hard to be an expert at every single thing and every piece of it. A piece I do think that's often overlooked is branding. That's my background, so I have a keen eye in that space. But tell me how important, like the branding, brand equity, like some of these things that are really intangible but hold a lot of the value. How important is that to franchising?
Well, in franchising, one of the three core elements of a franchise is the brand.
Yeah,
Without a brand, you don't have a franchise. It's one of the definitional elements of a franchise. So it's very important that you not only have a brand, but that you maintain that brand and you maintain the quality associated with that brand. Um, Consumers have to have an expectation of a certain level of performance and a certain expectation associated with that brand. In franchising, it becomes a little bit more important because rather than you being in charge of that brand, you're putting franchisees in charge of that brand at a unit level. So go to the case of McDonald's. You've got maybe 30,000 people out there that are running McDonald's stores that are each one of them running them individually. If you don't have the systems in place to make sure that they're all being run consistently, you're going to get all sorts of different products and all sorts of different experiences. And suddenly the brand will mean very little in the eyes of a consumer, which means that average unit volumes will go down, which will mean that profits will go down, and which will mean that the company will not do as well, and franchisees will not do as well ultimately. And ultimately, the success of any franchise system is predicated on the success of the franchisees. So maintaining quality control, maintaining the brand, and making sure that the brand stands for something is of paramount importance when it comes to franchising.
There you go. It's like glorified. Well, it is influencer marketing. Like attitude reflects leadership, and it really does stem from the top and those high standards, and then consistency. Consistency in almost everything is key. I can't even think of one thing where that doesn't matter significantly. But it kind of blows my mind. It's overwhelming to think how a franchise or business or community or organization operates like McDonald's, because there's so many moving parts, and that consistency, and like down to the fraction of a cent or the onion on the burger, like every little detail is a piece of it. So I can see how those systems just get extraordinarily detailed. What are some of like the biggest misconceptions with franchising?
Hmm. Well, I think there's a couple big misconceptions with franchising. Um, One of the big misconceptions with franchising, I think, is that it is. I think there's a lot of people who get into franchising for the first time, and or they're a little gun shy about getting into franchising because they think that it's really complex or that it's really litigious. Sometimes the litigation um, is what grabs the front page news, but companies have relatively little litigation actually in franchising by comparison to the number of locations that they open up, and by comparison to the alternative of opening up corporate locations. Um, so there's really not that much litigation in franchising when you compare it to the number of overall, sort of the size of franchising in the economy, and the impact. I think that's one of the big misconceptions. The other is that I think that it's sort of limited to just burgers and sandwiches, where it really is in almost every sector of the economy. Um, I think that's a, a pretty prevalent perception. I mean, pretty much every industry you can think of is franchised now. Service sectors, if you're doing lawn care, if you're doing uh, carpet cleaning, if you're doing hotels, almost any business that you go into, the chances are very good that it's a franchise business.
Yeah, that's incredible. Once you start listing those other things like massage envy and stuff, and like, oh yeah, it does. It definitely makes sense how you see that everywhere. For if someone's out there and they're wondering, is now a good time to franchise? We just had the election. We've got New Year coming. Is now a good time to franchise your business, or is there a more ideal time than another?
Yeah, I think that the best time to franchise your business is going to be a matter of personal choice. It's the franchising is going to be when it's going to be good when it's right for you as an organization and as a business owner. Um, Franchising has to work for the franchisee. That's first and foremost. So if your business is not working yet, it's not right time. It's not the right time to franchise it. But if your business is making good money, the timing is better for it. I wrote an article a while back called "Quick versus Slick," and one of the things that I really pointed out in that article was that if you're going head to head with a big, well-established competitor like a McDonald's, somebody like McDonald's, you better be very slick if you're going to try to compete with them. And you better make sure that you got all your systems very well buttoned up and very well refined before you start trying to do anything. If, on the other hand, you've got something that is more um, cutting edge, that you've got something that is a little bit more, um, you know, uh, just something that is really new and unique, you better be very quick in terms of getting to the marketplace, because especially today, in today's world, people are knocking businesses off faster and faster. When I was a kid, I can remember going to various different stores, and we would go into stores just to do competitive shopping exercises. We do like competitive market baskets to try and figure out what people were selling. We'd bring cameras in and we'd sneak around with our cameras and take pictures when the owners weren't looking. Today, you go into a restaurant or you go into a marketplace and you're taking cameras. These people want you to take their pictures because social media is where it's at these days, and everything is getting put out there. Everything's getting pushed out there. What your pricing is, what your marketing is, everybody knows. And so, if you've got a successful business, you're getting knocked off faster and faster than ever before. And you have to take a look at, if you've got something that is really new and unique, and you want to grow, and franchising is part of your future, you should be doing that as quickly as possible. But I tell people, don't look at it from the standpoint of franchise or don't franchise. What I tell people is when you're making a decision, you should make a business decision. And that is, if you're going to grow your business, do you need to have a third party channel of distribution or can you do it without bringing in other people's money? If it's going to be a third party channel distribution, do you want it to be branded? Do you want it to have your brand name on it? If it's going to be branded, do you want to control the quality? If you want to control the quality, how do you want to get paid? Do you want to get fees? And if the answer is, I need a third party channel of distribution, it's going to be branded, it's going to be quality control, and I'm going to get a fee, it's a franchise. You better move quick if you've got something that's unique because somebody else is going to beat you to it.
I love that. That's perfect segue, and I like that you have these like really quick systems to kind of filter things out for yourself if you're considering this, because I think that's critical. And I did want to talk about the social media in this game because that's a lot with my branding and marketing. But you just said all the intel's out there. What else has social media, or how has social media impacted the franchise game? Has it just made everything else just that much more quick, or is there anything else that has really impacted that process?
Well, it's really prevalent across franchising now. So it used to be that when you would sell franchises, you'd go to trade shows. Today, franchising is 90% of the leads, well, 70% of the leads anyhow that you generate for franchises are generated through social media and through other kinds of internet or other kinds of online marketing. We have a separate company called Top Farm Media that does nothing but franchise lead generation. We also have a company called Fran Devco, which does franchise sales and franchise marketing. And Fran Devco is a company that is the leader in franchise sales and franchise development. So we can take a company that is getting into franchising for the first time. We can develop their strategy, develop their quality control, develop their marketing. We can push their marketing out there. We can generate leads for them, and then we can actually sell the franchises for them. And so much of that today is done either on the internet or through broker networks that just weren't even available before, but now are all enabled through the internet and through social media. That it has really changed the nature of the game and the nature of the way that information has been disseminated about franchises. So much information is available now that it makes it a very competitive environment for how to get this information out there, but it also makes it a much more transparent environment.
Absolutely. Do you find in general the consumer is just that much more savvy because of all this intel, or is there a lot of BS out there that actually segues them to the wrong direction?
Both.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more savvy consumers out there today that are buying franchises and doing a much more better job. But I do think that there's a lot of there is certainly still a share of franchisors that are out there that are not are not as uh, transparent with information as they should be, or
Yeah.
that don't share information in a way that is as helpful as it could be. And it is always helpful to find people that know what they're doing from the standpoint of the people that you're talking to and listening to when you're trying to make sure that you make an informed decision. Because when you're talking about buying a franchise, you're talking about a life altering decision. You're talking about spending potentially your life savings doing something that you've never done before with no guarantees of success, and leaving maybe a job that pays very well and gives you good benefits to do that without any opportunity to go back and try and do it again. So there's a big risk associated with the acquisition of a franchise. Make sure you do it right. Make sure that if you are going to buy a franchise, do your homework, work with people that are reputable, make sure that you understand what those risks are, and when you're going through that process, make sure that you understand what it is you're getting into as part of the process, because it is not a decision to be made just purely emotionally. It's something where you really need to dig into it.
There you go. And again, I go back to like get the coach, get the consultant, get your team, get the people you trust. And then in that process, if you are new to it, trust your gut. Like listen to your gut on who you're working with, what intel you're getting, because there is a ton of information out there. And there's always insider baseball. There's always in betweens that you need to know and talk to someone that's in the community that will have even deeper intel than you have. So they can really streamline your process. And it's always more fun with a team and someone in the game that can kind of help you and root you on and high five when the right things happen and help pick you up when the wrong things come through, because I know you get a variety of both. What is something like what makes you so passionate and excited about franchising? I do think it's really cool if you're an entrepreneur, you have this opportunity where it's your business, but you actually get to work with all these different businesses. Like, why does this light you up? Why franchising of all things?
You know, I've been, had the pleasure of working honestly with some of the greatest entrepreneurs of our times. I've worked with Fred DeLuca, who's the founder of Subway. I've worked with, um, I worked with the guys who founded Buffalo Wild Wings when they got their start.
Okay.
I worked with John Leonicio when he founded Massage Envy. I've worked, with Ann Byler when she founded Auntie Anne's Pretzels. I've had a chance to work with people who have changed the face. Peter Ross, who founded Senior Helpers. People have changed the face of business around the world with better business models, and just watching these people grow better business models. And you see, when people do it right, they change people's lives. You go to a convention, a franchise convention, and there are franchisees at these conventions who will come up to the founders and they'll talk to the founders and say, "You changed my life. You helped me put my kids through college. You helped me put my kids, you know, uh, to pay for their weddings, and you helped me to buy this house, and you changed my life. I couldn't have never have done this without you." Um, and it's powerful, and the way that people are able to grow businesses. To me, it's one of the greatest opportunities for growth where you can take people who don't have a lot of capital can grow a business to um, Debbie Schwetz, who is one of my favorite clients, Nothing Bun Cakes,
Oh yeah.
started out with a concept that she started baking bundt cakes in her kitchen, and she ended up selling that company for and I can't even say the number, but it's in the huge, huge, huge numbers, many hundreds of millions of dollars kind of range, because she was able to do things right and show people how to make money doing what she did. And this is not somebody who had a bunch of money and had a silver spoon and was able to um, be able to just um, be able to um, just have something handed to her on a silver platter. This is somebody who started with relatively little to begin with, but was able to use her smarts and her dedication and her passion for her business to help other people make money. And in the process, she made a boatload of money herself. And it's, seeing those kinds of success stories, um, it just is, every time, I drive down the street. And I've been doing this for 40 years now, so I've got a lot of different clients that I see when I drive down the street, and I see these clients, and I think to myself, yeah, I was a part of that. I was a part of that, and it really charges you up. And
Yeah.
if people are interested, in learning more, they can go to highfranchisegroup.com. That's my company. There's a part of the at the website highfranchisegroup.com. There's a free excerpt from the book if they wanted to go and take a look at it and see a little bit more about it, see if that's something that would make sense for them to even have a feel for. And if if this is something that is for them, this is an opportunity for them to grow their businesses potentially way faster than they could any other way. There's no,
Yeah.
if you were to just go to the bank and borrow money, you could maybe open 2 units a year, 3 units a year, whatever it happens to be. John Leonisio, when he founded Massage Envy, he had 470 units open in 3 years.
Wow.
So this is,
Wow.
that's not normal in franchising. I don't want to make it sound like do
Yikes.
that,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
does give you that kind of ability to leverage in a way that is just, you know,
A whole other level.
incomparable to other kinds of means of growing a business.
I love it. Yes, widen the perspective. I have two more questions for you. Working for this, with all these different kinds of businesses and dreams, I mean, you see humans go from blue collar to white collar to gold collar to beyond. What is there like something that's similar to each one of these humans that you're working with? Like, is there some sort of like personality trait or anything? Because to me, these are like go-getters. Like these are ones willing to take a risk or have a vision. Like it's got to be really intentional humans. But from your perspective, is there any through line with some of these like majors, especially the successful ones?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said these guys are go-getters. These people are the people that are my clients are willing to take a risk. They're willing to bet on themselves. They're willing to say, I know that I can do this, and they have a passion behind their business. The other thing I would say for them is, in addition to having that passion behind their business, they also have almost universally, in fact, I would say universally, they universally have a desire to make their franchisees successful.
Mhm.
Uh, the people who make it in franchising focus in on franchisee success. And so I would say it's a combination of a passion for their business, a willingness to take risk, and a desire to make their franchisees successful. And you combine those three things, and that's the formula.
I love it. I think in any business, like through line, especially in me having 200 plus conversations, etc., the through line is always when it's bigger than you, when it's bigger than just your own success, your own thing. Like you see this team, and of course that comes back to you. But I think that that energy is a really big piece of entrepreneurship, and that gets so overlooked so often. And that piece facilitates your own happiness, your own mental health. Like there's other non-measurables in the game when you're playing for the team at large and not just for yourself and your family. So I think that's big. Final question. You've seen a lot. I would, at one point maybe love to do a whole podcast conversation around the humans you've worked with because I'm fascinated by the human behavior and I love my risk takers. I love my go getters and I love the ones that believe in themselves because I think those are the leaders we need in this day and age in any field, healthcare, entrepreneurship, what have you. Like we need good people doing good things and modeling that behavior so that trickles out to everyone else. But I'm really curious for you specifically, what is success to you?
I'm living success right now. I mean, to me, my success is enjoying what I do and being able to be surrounded by great people. Um, the people that I'm with right now um, at Top Bar Media, at iFranchise Group, at Fran Devco, these guys are all at the top of their games. They are, I'm learning every day that I'm with these people. You know, I'm past the point in my life where I'm really worried about sort of the financial aspects of success. To me, it's really more about the people that I'm with, the people that I'm able to share things with, the ability to enjoy my time with those people and to learn on a constant basis. Um, to me, that's success is people and time. You pointed out at the beginning of the show. I mean, the one thing that we got is time, and spend the time well because that's the resource you got, and that's the one that's constantly being diminished. So spend your time well, and you'll be successful.
There you go. You can't franchise yourself, unfortunately. Al- Although I don't know if there's a couple of me in this world, I don't know if that'd be a good or bad thing, but it's the truth. Time is a finite resource. I love your passion by this, and I hope this conversation lights a spark to all my entrepreneurs out there that maybe didn't think of this and or might be thought of. I know, of more than a few good businesses out here in Colorado that are over 10 years in the game that this might be a good option for that I know they haven't thought of. So I hope this lights a spark. Mark, you had said earlier, but hit us with websites or handles or anything you want to share where we can find you.
Just ifranchisegroup.com. It says the letter I, the word franchise, the word group, all thrown together.com. If they go there, they can find out anything they want about us.
There you go. Go check it out. I think right now this is the end of the year, so come out in 2025. But ask yourself some questions and think bigger. See what you can do with your business. Go believe in yourself, number one. So, Mark, thank you very much for joining us. I want to say thank you to our sponsors, Lux Neuro, Neurofeedback and Counseling. Lux Neuro wants to meet you. So if you're ready to transform your life, visit them at luxneuro.com. Colorado Clownfish Swim School, where swim lessons and water safety training are for all ages. They believe in life skills through sports. So come waterproof your family today. Check us out wherever you get your podcast and look for this video on YouTube. And we will see you in this bright, beautiful new year. Cheers.
Thanks so much, Kristen.
Thank you for joining Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Tune in next time, and don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.